Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for stopping by. We are going to do a little maintenance today. It's the end of August, and generally, I try to service my log splitter twice a year. I don't have an hour meter on it. I never took the time to put one on it, and having it this long now, I just didn't see any point. And so what I've done since I've owned it is every 6 months, I just do a change the engine oil and such on it. And then every other oil change, it gets a hydraulic filter. So what we're going to do today is I have not changed. I've had that log splitter for 2 years. So I have not actually changed the hydraulic oil on it yet. The oil in it still looks really good. It's got good color in it. It's not getting dark or anything like that. But any of you that's ever ran a box store log splitter will know how hot this cylinder gets. So I don't want to keep running that fluid till it starts changing color. So we're going to head up to the shop and we will change the engine oil in the log splitter, and we'll also change the hydraulic oil and filter on it today. So we're also going to do some little cleaning on it, something I'll show you when we get up into the shop. When I first bought that, I did something to it, and in doing that, occasionally you need to do a little extra bit of maintenance, and I'll show you what that is up in the shop. Okay, as you can see, we are up in the shop. So first thing I'm going to do is get the oils draining. So we have the engine oil drain plug here, and then I'll try and sneak you down here. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's the drain plug for the hydraulic tank. So we will get oils draining first. And while the oils are draining, we'll check the air filter and the spark plug. The air filter and the spark plug, neither one have been changed since I've had this. And I got this splitter in December of 2022. So I've had it for a couple of years now, or almost a couple of years now. So I already have an air filter and a spark plug, so whether they need them or not, we're going to go ahead and change them. That one's the pre-filter's a little worse. 1.5 year runtime, I'll take that. I think that's pretty good. Plug still looks like it's in pretty good shape, but like I said, this is the plug that's been in there since I bought it new, and since I already have one, I'm just going to go ahead and put a new one in. We'll see where the gap is on this old plug real quick. The gap is actually still good at 28 thousandths. So we'll check the new plug real quick. The new plug is a little loose for 28. We got just a little bit of drag on our feeler wire, so that's perfect. Point that out real quick. So you'll notice I'm not using one of them little ring things that everybody buys at the auto parts store. There's a reason for that. When you use that ring gauge, that ring style that's just kind of a circular wedge, you can actually damage the spark plug. So I don't ever use those. I always use a set of feeler gauges or a dedicated set of wire gauges for setting plug gap, your air gap on your spark plug. So we got this one ready to go, so we'll get it put in. And yes, I know you should use a torque wrench when you're putting your spark plugs back in, but I have done this a lot and kind of got a feel for when the crush washer crushes. So on this, if it was my truck, it'd be a different story, but on this little log splitter, not too concerned about it. If you haven't done it a lot, I definitely recommend you using a torque wrench. So then, since I don't have an hour meter, easy way for me to keep track of this is I write on a piece of painter's tape what I did and the date. Since I did all this stuff, I wrote it all down. I'll show you the old one real quick. So as you can see on this one, it just says serviced and the date. So as you can see, I'm about a month and a half behind on my 6 months. If it just says service, that means all I did was change the engine oil. So you may remember I had made the statement in the opening that there was one extra piece of maintenance that we'd have to do, and it's some maintenance that I basically have created for myself. When I first bought this log splitter, they tell you to use a brush or something and grease the rail when you go to use it. I didn't want to have to brush grease on that rail every time I went to use it. So I took the splitter, took the wedge off of the splitter, drilled it and tapped the wedge base. And I had installed, it's hard to see because it's covered in grease and dirt, but I installed a grease zerk right here. That has been a great add-on. It's really easy. When I get ready to go and run this, I put my battery powered grease gun on there and I just grease the rail up, and I'll run the wedge out, put some grease down, run it out, put some more grease down, run the wedge out, and I do that all the way to the end of the track, and then I cycle the wedge a couple of times. And it seems to work very, very good for me. The thing that I have noticed, because you get so much debris in the wedge while you're splitting, what winds up happening is stuff gets stuck to the bottom of the wedge. So periodically I take the wedge loose and I have to scrape it just to make sure there's not, I don't notice, I've never noticed any wear or anything under there. But we'll go ahead and we'll pull the wedge off real quick, and we'll clean that wedge body and put it back on real quick. So we'll do that right now. And this is what I'm cleaning off. You can just see where some of the debris and stuff has gotten caked up on there. And what happens is when you grease it, you'll start noticing it streaks. If it's clean, I'll get a nice wide bead of grease under that, and it works really good. So we just want to take a minute with a putty knife and scrape this stuff off. Now that we have it scraped off, I'm going to use a small pocket style screwdriver, and I'm just going to make sure that the hole for the grease zerk's clear. And you can see there's a bunch of debris coming out of that. And then that's ready to go. So before I put it on, I'll just make sure I wipe all the debris out of the rail, and then we'll reassemble it. Since I don't have a new nylock nut, I'm going to add just a little bit of blue Loctite to that nut when I go to put it back on. Well, there we go. We've got a full service done on the old Brute 30-ton log splitter. I want to point something out real quick. I didn't write it on the sticker. You may have caught me doing this while I was changing the filter. The reason I didn't write the filter down on my tag is with a paint pen, I write the date that I put the filter on the machine. Spent a lot of time as a heavy equipment mechanic, and that's how we always did services. You always wrote it on the filters, so it's just habit for me. Which is the reason I didn't, like I said, that's the reason I didn't add it to my little tag. I was about a month and a half late on getting the engine oil changed, but I'm 5 months ahead on changing the hydraulic oil. That's the way I'm going to look at that. Technically, the hydraulic filter wouldn't have been due to be replaced till December with the intervals I use. Like I said, I don't have an hour meter on this, so I do engine oil every 6 months. I do a hydraulic filter every 12 months, and then I do hydraulic oil every other year. So basically get 2 years out of the hydraulic oil. This machine said that you could run ATF or AW32 hydraulic oil in it. I stick with the ATF, the automatic transmission fluid. The reason for that is it has a wider operating temperature. And that was the reason I chose to go with the ATF. The ATF, it still had really good color to it. Didn't really look bad when you look through the suction hose. Still nice and pink, red, whatever you want to call it. But if any of you have ever smelled hot automatic transmission fluid or burnt, it was starting to get that smell to it. So we definitely changed it at the right time, because you could smell that, but it hadn't started turning colors yet. So I think I changed it at an optimal time. Yeah, it's all ready to go. So the next time we'll probably get back out in the wood yard, do a little splitting, put the old work table here, put it through its paces again, make sure get a little more time on it, make sure it's working the way I want it to. But I can tell you from the test the other day, I was really happy with the way stuff was staying on it. The only thing that came off of that work table actually didn't touch the work table. I dropped it. Anything else I sat on there, I did not have anything vibrate off of the work table. So I was really pleased with that. But anyways, we'll wrap this up here. I appreciate you guys all hanging out in the shop with me today. I know this isn't as quite as fun as being out in the wood yard, but as any of you that own equipment know, if we want to keep our equipment and make it last, we're going to have to do some maintenance every now and then. So I appreciate you all hanging out with me. Hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you soon.